Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the work session this morning. If you'll join me for a moment of silent prayer. Amen. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any recognitions of the commission? There's no recognitions. We will move on. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I did not send in an item for discussion as was requested on 2 or 3 occasions. But I would like for us to consider the county moving toward renewable energy if we have time. If we don't have time, I didn't submit mine, so we'll move on.
Renewable energy. We'll put that down as number 11 if you don't mind.
That's fine.
All right. We need approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor by roll call voting. Mr. Dickerson.
He's muted.
Mr. Dickerson, you're muted. Mr. Howell. Mr. Jeffries. Mr. Owen. Ostrager. Bill Carter's not here, but aye. Motion approved. Discussion items. Update on Castle County Comprehensive Plan. Okay.
How many of you have read the comprehensive plan recently or even ever? But it has had no annual review as prescribed by the plan in at least the last 5 years. Mr. Hogan can correct me if I'm in error on that. It's supposed to be reviewed annually and findings are supposed to be presented to the board. That is not happening. That document is 120 pages-ish. It is truly comprehensive. It was developed from citizen meetings, stakeholder meetings, and then the statistics, I believe, were put together by the PTRC, and it's a wonderful document. It's something we should be looking at, and I think I may at some point make a recommendation that this board look at it and review the goals at least 2 or 3 times a year, because it's there's a lot of work that went into it. As I said, it hasn't been updated since it was created in 2013, 14, and it needs to be done. So my recommendation is that we update, or we commission an update, not a rewrite per se, but got new data from the 2020 census, which would be wonderful to include in this. And we need to update that. It's my understanding that the PTRC should be available to help with an update as opposed to a rewrite. And cost to do that should be relatively affordable. I would suspect the cost to do that might even be covered by some COVID money, some ARP, AP, whatever it is, money. If we see fit not to try to fund it out of the budget. So it's a significant project. For example, we just had a new development approved by the planning board, the Robert and Leon Wiley development with how many tracks?
The Briar Ridge major subdivision
Yeah.
for Tuesday was 11 new lots.
11. And we need to recognize that there's a lot of growth that's coming to this county, believe it or not. Primarily from the south and the east and the west, probably the north. So we're surrounded by growth that will be coming in here. We need to get this plan updated. We need to update the goals, strategies, and the policies. And we need to, my recommendation is we use the same methodology that was used to create the last one. As I say, which involves citizen and stakeholder input, and then it's a considerable task force that was put together to do that. So I don't know whether we need a motion or consensus or whatever, but I'd like to see the board agree to do that this year.
So what I'm hearing and understanding that you're saying is that you want to tweak this comprehensive plan.
No, I want to update it.
Tweak
It's more than a tweak. I mean, we've got a lot of data that needs to go into it. We need to revise the goals and strategies. It's not a complete rewrite, but it's a significant update.
So do we want each commissioner to look at this plan and come back
That would be delightful.
and come back with ideas to give to the planning board and so forth to look at?
Well, what my thoughts were, is, I mean, if you look at the plan and look at the very first part of it, I guess I could even put them on the screen if you want. There was a large group of people that participated in the creation of this. There was a steering committee with and things like that. And I'd like to kind of recreate that. The forces that were used to write the first one to be in charge of and supervise the update. But your point, I definitely would like each commissioner to at least read the existing.
Right. And address any issues they have within our committee and then send it on.
Yeah.
All right, we need a vote on that.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question first?
Yes, sir, please.
To the county planner, just to give me some ideas, what issues have you seen that have come up already, and issues that may come up over the horizon that involve the comprehensive plan or plan period?
Sure. So Commissioner Ostraker talked about more or less an update and kind of the good work that had gone in there. And if you read through the comprehensive plan, you'll see that a lot of the same issues that these folks were concerned with in 2013 and 14 are really a lot of the same issues today. They talk about health and wellness. They talk about education. They talk about PCC and the community college being involved. Broadband connectivity, you know, these are a lot of the same issues we still talk about today. Yeah, one of the things that stuck out to me in rereading it were the desire for some sort of innovative agricultural center and having the community college involved in that. And I would say that that goal is basically accomplished in the seed project. Obviously, construction is still awaiting, but that's something I would say that the county identified as a goal in the comprehensive plan and has made, unbelievable progress in accomplishing. But in terms of future developments, future changes, obviously the casino coming into the Danville has a tremendous potential to change things in the county. We're seeing growth. I think the only area of the county where we saw population growth as a result of the census was down in the Prospect Hill area as obviously an identifiable growth corridor. So I think it's definitely a mixture. I think there are things in the comprehensive plan that have more or less been accomplished, but there have been things that have changed since 2013 and 14 that would necessitate some sort of an update.
So as far as we know, the casino plan is still on track to come.
Yeah, as far as I know, and I believe they're targeting late 23.
Yeah, they're starting on it, the destruction of the property, preparing the property now. Starting that.
Well, and Apple has announced 3,000 very high-paying jobs that will be coming to the RTP area. And we all know that the real estate market right now there's nothing available. You can't hardly buy a house. You gotta chase somebody out of one to buy it. So Castle County is gonna look very attractive. Other than, the limited roads, and even those aren't bad compared to where some of these people are coming from. Even if it takes them an hour to get there, that's probably half the drive that they've been experiencing in California. So they're coming, folks. They are coming.
There are two new huge major projects coming to Piedmont Triad Airport area. They're huge.
Good.
Any more questions? Any motion?
Chairman, I move that we review and update the Castle County comprehensive plan.
Commissioner Hall, could we say that would you be agreeable to amend your motion to say to create maybe a smaller steering committee that was created for the first one here to manage that as part of the update?
Yeah.
Because I think the critical part of this plan was, and it's actually on our agenda, is citizen and stakeholder input. And we need to manage that. This isn't something that we can hand to Mr. Hoagland and say, update the thing and walk away from it. We need that input.
Yes, I agree, and I think that the county planner, county manager, as they start putting this together, they may have some suggestions for some changes. You mentioned real estate. We really need to have some local and realtors involved. Because like you said, things are changing and changing quickly.
Absolutely. Yes. I second the amended motion.
We have a motion and a second. We'll do roll call voting. All those in favor, Mr. Dickinson, Mr. Hall, Mr. Jeffries, Mr. Owen, Mr. Ostrager,
You bet.
McVeigh, yes, motion carries. Moving on, how to deal with residential and industrial growth in the southern portion of the county.
Well, since I'm the only one that submitted items, I guess I'll talk again. I just mentioned this growth that we're seeing, especially as Mr. Hoagland mentioned, in the southern part of the county, even within the county. And there is pressure from all around the county, as I mentioned. and we need to manage that growth. We need to manage how that growth occurs in this county. And we need to take advantage of, or not take advantage, we need to address the needs that will accompany this growth. We need to encourage high-value properties, non-polluting agriculturally based industries. And what those do, they will increase the tax base so that we can support the needs of the people that are moving to the county, especially if they're building $750,000 homes or tracts of land. They're going to have certain expectations on how we provide infrastructure to them. And infrastructure is high-speed internet, electrical. Lovely if we could get natural gas. We need to improve the highways, transportation. Need to make sure there's enough water one way or the other. And probably as important as all of those is the quality of the education that they're going to need for their children and for their employees. We're talking about a business children. So, we need to consider, and once again, I think we need to put together a group to do this. We need to consider ways to encourage that growth. And just a few suggestions that I've penciled out would be like a ramped 3 to 5 year discount on property tax for higher assessed value properties. In other words, if a property, a tract is got a value of $200,000 right now, and somebody buys it and puts a $500,000 home on there, that property value is going to go up. So this is what I'm talking about for those properties. And, we need to make sure that this is doable, but these are suggestions. Where, for example, the first year of a 3-year plan, you get a 9% discount on your property tax. Second year, you get a 6%. Third year, you get a 3%. This would encourage people to come and build a high value property. Out of that, we could reduce or pay for that by maybe subsidizing contract trash pickup. For example, maybe take 10% out of that 9%. We need to work out the details on that. Discount permit fees, maybe by 25% for these higher value, higher assessed value properties. And I'm sure this board should be capable of coming up with some other ideas for a smaller group. I think to address the educational aspect of this, you need to link the budget, the money we provide to the schools, to their capital budget, any supplements requested, to improvements that they make in attendance days, graduation rates, the evaluations that these schools are given. Right now, they're pretty embarrassingly low. And or some measure of the quality of the education to encourage schools to address the needs of these people that are moving to this county that have got expectations for a good education for their children. So once again, I'd like a group put together to look at ways to do this.
Any comments, questions?
Yes, I wholeheartedly support the last comment that Commissioner Ostriker made, and I would like to be part of that group to look at ways of improving our school system and tying the funding to making better strides toward the education of our children. So yes, I think that's a great idea.
Any more comments? So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering, never mind.
So we need a motion to put it into place to form a committee to start looking at this.
Look at these incentives or ways to address the issues that I mentioned.
Right.
Infrastructure, education.
So we need a motion.
Make a motion to proceed with the formation of that group.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to proceed with the formation of that group. We'll do roll call voting. Mr. Dixon,
Aye.
Mr. Howell, Mr. Jeffers, Mr. Owen, Mr. Ostrager,
aye.
and myself, aye. Motion carries. Update on salary study. You got, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you an update on the salary study. We've received.
I'm sorry. Can I interrupt?
Sure,
for a second?
absolutely.
Part of my item, and I don't know that it wasn't specified in there, but I did mention it, was high-speed internet. And what I'd like to do is just tag in there that Rockingham County just put on their webpage an announcement about their partnering with Spectrum Charter, whatever they are. That blew me away when I looked at it. It was just, they had a video in there about a panel discussion and a meeting they had as part of this announcement. And to use the English expression, I was gobsmacked by how well done it was, by how comprehensive it was, and by the sheer commitment of what they're doing with Spectrum Charter and other groups that are contributing to it. And I'll be happy to send the link to that page to our clerk so that she can distribute that to everyone that's interested in it. It's a 37-minute video. I'd be happy to play it now if y'all want to watch it, but I mean, it just, I don't know, I sent it to the county manager and I don't know whether you had a chance to see it.
Yes,
Would you like to comment on that?
sure. I did view the video. It was a great panel discussion. They spoke about cost and how they were covering their cost. I think the total cost of the project was somewhere around 14.5 to 15 million. And I think the county was, and Charter was covering a lot of that cost. I think the Rockingham County was $3.85 million, I think, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
So it was an impressive project. Interestingly enough, I convened basically the same group of people for Caswell County that you would see in the video in Rockingham about 2 months ago. Being the president of the community college system, the Caswell County school system, the medical center, the economic developer, myself, Matthew, you were part of that. I convened, I think, basically the same group of people. And we started having discussions, and I had Charter to give a presentation to that same group of people. So I think we're I think we're in a good place. We've started those discussions. The recent legislation that's been passed is a little bit prohibitive from my perspective on how Caswell County specifically can move forward and use our funding and our dollars to do that. Specifically because what it basically says is if we use ARP money, or if we use our county dollars to fund broadband internet, then we're no longer eligible for any kind of state programs like the Great Grant or like the CAB. There's a newly announced CAB program. We would no longer be eligible for those kind of programs in the future. So I think we've got to take a good hard look at it. I plan on speaking with the Rockingham County manager to see exactly how their funding how they're setting their funding up and move forward with our discussions from that.
As I said, I'll send that link to Ms. Smith so that she can send that out there.
Thank you. All right, moving back to update on salary study.
Sure. I'd like to inform the board that we have most of the information we were scheduled to receive from the salary study. It's not yet ready for public consumption. There are some things that need to be addressed in it. So I'll move through those processes, and the board can expect a presentation, if not in February, in the first meeting in March. I hope to get it in February, but if not, first meeting in March, the board can expect a presentation on the salary study. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. So and I'll just say, the basis for the salary study was to bring employees up once again to the minimum of the new grades. And when they're brought up to the minimum, then to provide them with 1% increase for every year they've served in that position. That's kind of how the salary study was structured. Now, when I say served in that position, we may have employees that have been county employees for 20 years, that they may have only been in their current position for 2 years. So it's really position specific, not necessarily longevity specific. So we've got a little bit more work to do, but we hope to have it in front of you fairly soon.
Any questions, comments?
And part of that, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Paul.
I would like to request of the county manager, and I don't know how easy or if it can be done. As you make the presentation on the salary study, makes some kind of projection or indication on regional competitiveness as it relates to new jobs coming in the region. We can compare the jobs that are here. But let's say the new supersonic jets that's going to be built. Yeah, you're talking about 150,000 plus. And there's another new place coming out there. And you're talking about probably over 100,000. So we got to have some kind of feel for the new jobs and what that's going to do to us. Especially if you've got GTCC already starting training. So if a company comes in and tells some of our, recruit some of our employees that are making $20 an hour, and they say, we're gonna pay you $25, you will go take the training. and 30 when you get your certificate. And see, we've got to be able to some way visualize the impact, not only on the county, but other local jobs here.
Well, we can certainly do that. Absolutely.
Any more comments or questions from salary study?
The part of that salary study was the creation of job descriptions.
That's correct.
And those are going to be in there for all employees,
That's correct. For all positions.
all positions, I'm sorry. That's exactly right. Are those going to be, what's the plan with those? Will they be reviewed by the employee and then employee supervisor and make sure they're applicable and accurate, I presume?
Yes, they will. The departments will have the opportunity to review those. But the job descriptions were written based off what has already been approved by the supervisor and was submitted by the employees. So I don't think there's going to be a wide gap in any one job description.
Any more questions?
And I will just say that the salary study encompassed every department. The sheriff's office, DSS, health department. I mean, we encompassed everybody in it. Not everybody was specifically asked. The questions, like some departments were, because the State Office of Human Resources we have employees that fall under their jurisdiction, which is DSS, Emergency Management, Health Department. So they already have standard grades, right? So we couldn't really affect that much. But interestingly enough, those departments are some of the departments that need attention for their current salaries the most. So hiring is becoming increasingly difficult in not only DSS, but EMS. I know the sheriff's department is facing an increasing challenge. 911, all public safety roles are, everybody around us, even since this salary study, has increased starting pay for deputies, for 911 telecommunicators. So since this data was gathered, their pay has increased. So to get people, to get bodies in seats, we're going to have to make some changes. And I'll leave it at that.
And I'll just say that just reinforces the need for us to increase the tax base. Because this has got to be paid for somehow. These people aren't going to come just because we've got a beautiful courthouse. It's got a lousy sound system in it. But I mean, this is getting significant, folks. This is getting really significant. How many open positions do we have? Roughly?
I know there's several at DSS. There's EMS always has open positions, it seems. I know the sheriff department has open positions. So we have a lot of open positions.
It's at least 5% of the total population, right? A dozen open positions.
I would say 5%, at least 5%.
Yeah. I mean, that impacts our ability to get the work done.
Yes, it does. And I think the emergency services department, sheriff's office, EMS, 911, I think those departments are going to suffer extra because of the development we're seeing in with the casino and what will carry over from Danville into Caswell County and from the development from the south and east. I think they're going to see extra pressure. And because of the extra pressure they're going to see, if salaries aren't brought up and they're not able to hire, it's going to cause extreme difficulties just with emergency services, period.
As a side note, Virginia has state income tax, correct?
Yes.
So Caswell County resident that would work in Virginia would have to file to state income tax form. So we need to point that out. Because I used to do that and it was no fun at all.
Yeah.
Any more comments? Improved sound system in the historic courthouse.
You skipped one.
Huh?
You skipped one.
I skipped one?
No, it didn't get up. It didn't make the list.
Okay.
All right.
Improved sound system in the historic courthouse. I don't think it can be done. But
Well, we tried once, correct? And
Yes.
we got the microphones and a new set of speakers. And with the COVID money, we got the screens and the cameras and stuff like that. And every meeting, I get calls and complaints, as do most of us, about the people that I can't hear what you guys are saying. It's like conducting the secret meeting in public. It really, and I've sat out there before and you can't hear anything. And even when all you hear is noise. Part of it is some of us don't use the microphones properly. But even when you do, I mean, sitting up there, I can't even hear what David is saying, right? But some of it not. These days with the electronics and things we've got, there's got to be a better fix. And part of it is, and I think it's going to be unacceptable, but part of it is the acoustics in that room are terrible because of that super high ceiling and no curtains or any way to baffle that noise, and you get echoes in there that actually start, when they bounce around, they negate the sound.
Mm-hmm.
They're exactly 180 degrees out of phase with sound generated. Now, I don't know whether we can put up transparent bafflings or whatever, but it's not necessarily an electronic fix. Have we looked at getting a sound engineer to come in and is that possible?
We have had, not necessarily sound engineers, but we have had sound people come in and look at the room and advise on equipment. And we have implemented that equipment. And for various reasons, it just doesn't seem to work. So we'll give it another shot.
I mean, we've already discussed items that are going to load your wheelbarrow pretty high. I understand that. But this is important.
I understand.
And maybe you can have a department head undertake this or someone other than just you do it. But it needs to be done. We need to fix that. Either that or we need to meet somewhere else.
I think we had talked years ago when I was on the board about the same, we've talked about it a month, about the same situation.
We're good at talking about it.
And we even talked about moving.
Yep.
I can't remember whether we actually did move for a meeting or not. Seemed like we did, but I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either whether we did or not. But I don't think you can do most of that courthouse. Being it's a historic building and everything, it's going to be difficult, I think, to do much to it.
Well, like I said, there's technology out there now that wasn't there 3 years ago.
Can we afford it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think we can not afford to do something.
We're happy to take another look at it and get us maybe a sound engineer in that can help us work through the different aspects and challenges we face with this historic building.
Get somebody in there with sound meters and stuff during the meeting, especially when we've got public comments and stuff like that, that are hot and heavy. And have them listen with the equipment and figure out what the problem is. I mean, there's got to be a fix. And part of it is we need to use the doggone microphones. And that's one of the bigger things we can do. I'll get off my soapbox.
Okay, no more questions on that. We're going to move to improving communications with our county residents. Comments? Suggestions?
Well, I think we discussed that one other time, a couple of years ago. And we came up with a list of suggestions. I believe, I don't know that we still have them or not.
I can look back.
But one of those suggestions was, and I can't remember what they called this, but putting the video monitor into various Dollar Generals, convenience stores that would scroll constantly concerning Castle County information. That's just one I remember, and I can't remember what the actual product was called. And I don't know if it was Rockingham that had used that or what county it was. But that was one of the suggestions. So if you can look back and find that list and.
Yeah, we'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, I think I originated that a couple of years ago, Commissioner Rowe, and what I had put on my list was where is the action plan for doing that? I know Ms. Smith had undertaken or picked up where the seats were and started on this. And I'd kind of like to see that re-energized and an action plan actually put together for us to review and act on. Confirm recommendations, as you mentioned, about putting up, maybe linking it to the county webpage. Creation of the Facebook page is difficult.
It's done.
But that needs to, I mean, we need to put that information in there as well. And maybe link to or whatever, but we just need to do a better job of getting this out. We need to have someone that's part of their job is dedicated to informing the public of what the heck we're doing. Just like this meeting. At least so that the public knows we're thinking about these kind of things. Not scratching their heads saying, well, what are those guys, what are the seven dwarfs in the Crystal Palace doing today? So I'd like to see her put together an action plan on, give us some suggestions on how to do things.
Any more questions or comments?
I'll just. So this is I think this is something that there needs to be community engagement before the board decides, hey, this is the way we're going to do it. Because we can guess all day long how people receive their information. But without understanding how our residents actually receive information and the different channels that they all receive information through, I think it's very possible we'll miss the mark if we don't do some type of community engagement before. So I think that may be part of the process.
Well, and that's certainly, when I said action plan,
Sure.
I didn't say an action plan to, it's an action plan on how to go about doing it. And that's certainly one of the steps. I fully agree with you. It's part of, it's part of the comprehensive plan. The community meetings, and if we link it together in that, that's fine. It probably ought to be part of the comprehensive plan. But, you know, I know holding meetings with the public right now with COVID still underway is difficult. But it's hard to gather people around here because we are a large county with a very low density population. But that population is not shy about telling us we're not doing a good job of communicating. We need to address that. And I think your points were well taken and needs to be part of that action plan.
This is, I guess, my second year as commissioner. I tried community meetings. And I had one in Yansville, one in Providence, one in Milton. 2 people showed up for 3 different meetings. So, you know, that's a good thing. I think if we could have meetings in communities, but, you know, our residents have to be willing to come and hear and you know, as well. So you know, I think any way that we can improve the communication, whether it's the community meetings, through if we have to look at staff and someone who's dealing specifically with that part of the time, it would definitely help improve relationships.
Any more comments? If not, we'll move on to update of devices such as the Service Pro.
Okay.
That wasn't-
I'll take it. Commissioners, I know each and every commissioner in here at some point in time has had some issues with the Service Pros. We're at a point to where we can move forward with purchasing new devices for the Board of Commissioners. If you would like to do that, we're happy to yield to whatever you guys want to do, but we're at a point to where we can purchase new devices if you would like to do that. You've had the chance to experience both iPads and Surface Pros. So.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the Surface Pro. I use it, but I'm not a big fan of it. But you know, we haven't had these things long. I hate to turn around and, unless it's just that we cannot be efficient with it at all, I hate to turn around and spend more money on a device. But if we do, I definitely will vote for iPad.
Okay.
And not another Surface Pro.
Well, does everybody have to have the same?
Yes.
Really?
It's advisable that everybody has the same, so you can work across platforms on those devices. And so our IT department isn't constantly fixing different devices for different commissioners. And when members of the board change, you know, we don't always necessarily order new iPads or new Surface Pros at that point in time.
Can I
My-
speak?
So,
My comment is, that iPad was a pain in the tootie to work with. I couldn't figure the doggone thing out, and I get the search for it.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I have had an extreme amount of problem with this Surface Pro. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have to take it back to the IT department again because I'm on this meeting by phone because I could not get it to connect. And it's not an internet problem. It's some kind of glitch that happens and they have to go back in and work on it and get it back to me. For my vote on this, gentlemen, this thing is just not workable. We need to do something different.
Any more comments on it?
What are the options?
well, first I need to know if the board is inclined to do something different. If the board's inclined to do something different, we'll bring you back a list of options. One may be a laptop, a small laptop. One may be an iPad. But, you know, we'll bring you back a list of options and let the board decide. And if you choose for everybody to be able to choose their own device, then that's fine. We'll work with that. It's just not the easiest thing to do, but we can work with it.
We need a consensus from the board whether to go out and seek.
Well, you know, that's great. If you want to do that, this may be a topic for our budget discussions to add this money in the next year's budget. If you think you can make it another 6 months, if you don't think you can make it another 6 months, then we can definitely proceed now. Whatever the board would like.
Well, I'm good because I kept my iPad, so I have both of them I use.
Okay.
You see that.
Yeah, I tell you, I was struggling with this thing early. I've gotten the hang of it, I'm much better with it now, but, so that's the reason I kept my iPad, because it was just easier for me to operate, but
If I could get a mouse on that bad boy, it'd be good. I'd be
can.
good with it.
yeah, you can.
Can.
On the iPad or?
On the Surface
On the
Pro.
Surface, yeah.
You can.
Order me one, please, someone.
But I mean, that's up to the board. If, I don't know who else struggles with it or has problems with it that's not related to internet service.
Gentlemen, mine is not related to internet service. I can be in a city where I'm on the latest and greatest straight connection and I still have issues with it. I, for one, would like to get the options now rather than later.
Well, I don't think it ever hurts to get options.
Yeah, certainly.
So if, I think we would agree, let's go ahead and just get what options are available and then we'll proceed with looking at what it costs and where the money could come from and whether we can go ahead and do it now.
That's fine.
We'll have some options for you at your upcoming commissioner
Yeah,
in a week.
Yeah.
yes, Commissioner Hall.
I just want to make a comment that's not directly related. Like many of you, I had so many problems with this thing. I just quit trying to use it. I have a laptop at home that I use, but what really got me, and I guess this was personally, I called the IT department and they agreed to look at it. They told me when to bring it in. I got to the courthouse and the sheriff department deputy wouldn't let me in. That really just ticked me off. And I told them I was coming to see the IT department to fix my computer. They said, I don't care who you coming to see, you're not bringing a computer in here. And so I let it ride. I didn't want to overreact. So I went outside and called the IT department again. The IT guy came out and walked in the back door. Now, if we're gonna have a department there that serves county employees, then there ought to be a way to get in. And those deputies out there who think they're almighty shouldn't be hassling people. And that's what they do. They say, I don't care what you're doing, you ain't coming in with that computer. Okay. Like I said, my first reaction was not to overreact. So I didn't call the sheriff, and I didn't call the county manager. I just figured out another way to get in.
So we have a consensus to look at the options that are available.
All right. All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
Well, I think Commissioner Hall's point is well taken, but I mean, that's what I was told the best way to do is call IT, they meet you at the side door, go in. And I think that door between where the IT department is and the courthouse is a secure door already. So it can't be a security issue to do that. I don't think. Because I don't think you can just.
I don't think you should have a problem getting in the bottom of the courthouse. I've never had a problem. I mean, I walked in with my cell phone and everything else past the deputies and been able to get in the courthouse. And
That's why I decided not to overreact.
right, well,
You and I don't look alike.
you should have pointed to that picture up on the wall behind it and said, does this look like anybody on that picture? You know?
They probably would have said no. They all look alike.
But anyway, can we speak to them about that kind of stuff?
We can.
All right, I appreciate it. Any more comment?
Well, I think the clerk of the court has told me that I think they can offer commissioners and certain employees or certain people an exemption from that. I know you can get an exemption to go see the records and so on.
I don't know why you need an exemption if you're a commissioner to walk in there with anything you want. Except maybe
We'll take care of it.
This is the first time I've mentioned this. To anybody in public.
we'll get it, we'll work on it. Moving on, Commissioner Howard.
Yes, I've been trying to stay up with the news and all of this stuff on renewable energy. And I think it's time the county start thinking and planning to start using some type of renewable energy. Be it solar, electric vehicles, or something else. It's been a few years since I looked at a light bill. The county light bill, the last time I looked, was refused. And I think we need to start looking at that. In a combination of renewable energy that staff and anybody else can come up with.
And I'd like to see how we compare now to where it used to be, because I know they put in different lights. And I'd just like to see if that made any difference in our utility bill at all. Because those newer lights were supposed to be way more efficient.
They probably are. And I'm thinking more about our heating and cooling. And when we go and build in some of our buildings in the summertime, the air conditioners are running and staff got heaters under their desks. Those kinds of things, I think we need to figure out a way to mitigate.
Could we not, who's our electric provider? Is there only one or we come use both, Piedmont and
No, we used to,
Duke? Does Duke not offer an assessment? or
Yeah,
something like that?
I'm sure they would be willing to come out and take a look and make recommendations and suggestions, and we can, as part of this process, we can have that done.
You know, I think it goes beyond renewable energy. I mean, it's just energy efficiency. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, renewable would be a portion of that, but the bigger picture is the whole energy utilization by the county. What about throwing in with enterprise, the automobiles, electric vehicles? See what they, I mean, once again, it's just to see what their input is, ask them the question.
Sure, we can do that.
I mean, that's an energy use, right?
Since you brought up the sheriff's department and cars, I spoke to the sheriff yesterday, and he still has not received his cars.
What?
Has not received those cars yet.
Yeah.
And it's not just, and don't misunderstand me, it's not just an issue with enterprise. I mean, this is an issue, I think they're having all across the country, different places.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So he still is waiting on those new vehicles.
And we haven't received ours either.
Yes.
What she suggested.
I know it took me 4 months to get my new vehicle. Date of order, and that's because I got in early. This chip shortage in cars is. And I would suspect re-outfitting those cars is yet another stage of complication. You know, we got chips on boats are not even being made.
Any more comments on that? County managers updates?
Nope. No, this is a work session. This is for you to tell us how, give us the areas that you want to focus on. And I think you've done that. So we'll proceed forward.
Any more commissioner comments?
I've got one comment, you know, I think I've heard a lot, and I think everything you said definitely good. Give 100% effort to work towards that, but I think economic development should have been had this week. I mean, you know, there's some things that we're gonna have to do, and I think she should have been here this week. Yes. I mean, you can't have economic development. I look at TV and things happening all around. But nothing happened here in Cascade. And I know, you know, we can't continue to put out money and raise two things with taxpayers. Taxpayers at the top of the list. You know, we got to look for other issues. And the other issue is taxation. I mean, I think we need to definitely make Christmas that he do. You know, I know Mr. Calvin County needs raise, always have, we always been behind. And I guess we don't stay behind even with the single income, but we got to have tax rates here, Kevin. And I think it's been a great thing for everybody. I might be wrong, but that's just the way I feel. And one more thing, I think, and this is to you, Mr. Cameron, I don't think we need to order big trucks for people to drive, you know, like Section 8, like planners, things. I think we need a medium-sized truck for gas purpose. The big truck burn gas. I bought one, and I'll tell you what, I wish I had that problem. That thing lovely. You can't get coming around. I got gas in that too. When I thought about those trucks, man, that's a good question. They probably got the same V8 engine.
Most of them,
I think we need to look at this before, I know. Good, but for me, I think we need to cut back on something. That's just something that I feel like we need to do.
sure.
Thank you.
Would you like for us to set up a meeting with the economic developer?
Well, something, we got Riverside that came out there, I think the
Right.
government had something to do with that company, I want to know what's going on. I would love to do something, I seen that.
Do we want
That's
to,
just me individually.
do we want to do that at a regular commissioner meeting, or do you want to have another planned meeting for the economic development coming in?
I just think an update, which I think we've had in the past, but then COVID has kind of misdirected all of. But we were having her come maybe every quarter or something, just to give an update that she can. But we have to remember too, there are some things that the economic director cannot give out information about a company that has not, there's some things that she just can't tell everything. But yeah, I think just have her come and do an update for the board. Because there are things that are happening.
You put that on the next session,
Not the next agenda, it'll be the following.
okay. All right. Any more questions or comments or anything?
If you want, I can put that video on the screen if y'all want to watch it, or
We'll watch it individually.
Okay.
If there's no more comments or questions or anything to come before this planning session, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Commissioner Dickinson, Commissioner Howell, Mr. Jeffries, Commissioner Owen, Commissioner Ostraker, and McVeigh. Motion carries.